Let's talk about COVID-19 and all we've seen in COVID-19 times. COVID has come and disrupted our lives, right? So things have just happened, and suddenly we are basically trying to adapt to a new normal, so to speak. And still at the same time, there's a lot of information that is still required on COVID-19 and what's happening in the fight against COVID-19. What's the latest, especially looking at it from the World Health Organization's perspective, that the WHO is communicating to the world on a daily basis. And this is the progress that the world is making towards COVID-19. And these are the alerts that are there in COVID-19. And then at the same time, we just look at how our lives have changed. So suddenly, virtual meetings have become the norm. Suddenly, even virtual learning has become the norm, where, initially a few people in the society were actually attending virtual learning, and this mostly was in the higher learning institutions, not Kenyan, it's important to note, but those that are taking some courses and programs associated with international universities from here would be able to actually go through an entire course and graduate just by studying online. So now this is becoming a normal thing. So for very many schools as well, globally, education has basically gone virtual. So we're talking about a lot of technological support that has come in during this time of moving into the new normal. Other things, when you think about safety of such, when you're going and putting all your information now online, banking is now also happening a lot online. A lot of things are happening online, and there's a lot of information, and people trying to just get used to what is this new normal. Yep. And when you want to find out more information about COVID-19, you go and search. Okay, the word for search now has basically just been transformed into you Google it. So you go and Google information.
That is the search.
On what's the best platform to use if I want to communicate, if I want to host a meeting online. What's the information that I need to know about a certain country with regards to its COVID preparedness, and a lot more.
The world's encyclopedia.
That's it. It's the world's encyclopedia. Right there on your fingertips. Let's speak to the head of communication and public affairs for Sub-Saharan Africa at Google, and this is Dorothy Ooko. Dorothy, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to the Situation Room. My co-host, say hello.
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 Good morning, Dorothy.
Good morning. Finally, I get to talk to you.
Finally.
Yes.
Good morning, Dorothy.
Good morning.
Now, Dorothy, what are you talking about? Google? In fact, this conversation
It's my
comes...
first time in the Situation Room, so I'm really nervous.
Oh, wow.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you?
I am
At?
an 8.
Oh,
8 is okay.
10 being least nervous.
8 is you're fine. You're actually very fine.
You're
too fine.
You're doing well. Yesterday was World Humanitarian Day, and this, in fact, one of the things that we discussed even yesterday was people who are being recognized for the work that they're doing. This year, World Humanitarian Day has moved into focusing on healthcare and healthcare workers. There are people who are helping communities in the fight against COVID-19 and other health challenges in the world. But also at the same time, we are dealing with this pandemic globally. So when it comes to Google itself and the work that Google has done towards helping the fight against COVID, what are you guys doing?
Right, thank you. And first of all, as you said, the important thing has been to appreciate and show our gratitude to the frontline workers who have done a lot and risked their lives. And when we talk frontline, it's not just the doctors, but even delivery people, people who are delivering our pizzas and the food that we're ordering, because those are the trends that we've seen. A lot of people doing takeaways and ordering medicine or whatever it is that you need at home. So just thanking all those people. But one of the things we did, I think, when COVID really started in March, was to educate people around what you need to do. So doing the 5, do the 5 to help stop the virus was really critical because it was the first time we had this virus where people were, do not touch, do not shake hands. If you're coughing, you need to use your elbow and stuff like that. So that was the first round, which was really educating people on Google search on what you needed to do. And then the next bit was then to also educate people about misinformation on YouTube. We saw a lot of YouTube videos on if you drink garlic and onion, you'll not even get the virus at all. And so one of the things was, how do you help people with misinformation that was going around? When there's a disease that people don't know about, what happens is there's a lot of misinformation going around on how you get the disease, how you contract it, and what are the things to cure. So that was a two-pronged approach. And then, just working to ensure that, whatever ad we were seeing was something that was not capitalizing on coronavirus and people's fragility at that time, and when we've blocked tens of thousands of ads over the last month.
That's quite some work that you've done as well. But when you talk about now that, especially if we deal with looking at the information that you've pulled out, so to speak, of platforms such as YouTube, there are those that would argue that who are you to curtail freedom of expression? If somebody has an opinion and they want to pose it and they want to put it out there and say, look, I have gone through this, I have seen that there's this nice herb that is working and it's boosting my immunity and therefore it's going to help us in the fight against COVID, or it's going to deal with whatever, if they want to call it treatment or prevention of COVID, or it's vaccinating against COVID. Those are words that other people can come in and open up as a community to discuss that. Why are you the ones to decide what works and what doesn't?
Right, and that's a good question. So our platform is really a platform that helps share information. And our mission has always been to make information accessible to everyone. And therefore, when people put information, we believe that it's information that is useful and that needs to be accessed by everyone. However, when it comes to medicine, we know that we are not the experts. And we partnered with organizations like World Health Organization, CDC, Ministries of Health, who have the mandate to provide authoritative and reliable information about COVID-19. And that's why they would say, we felt that they were the only ones who would be able to say something that then we would say. So if someone said there's a cure, people are very gullible. And we saw tens of thousands of videos, claiming all sorts of therapies. And we would go, but you're not the WHO. Unless WHO says a vaccine has been found or a cure has been found, and they have proven that it works, then we would make that available. But we felt most of these were capitalizing really on sensitive events like the pandemic to be able to get the views. And you know that when you have a video on YouTube, when you get the views, YouTube pays you money for it. So people are capitalizing on this to make money for themselves. And that's why our content policies have been really strict to ensure that it has to be health related and it's not harmful and it's approved by the WHO.
You've also, looking at things have changed now, Dorothy, definitely in the way in which people meet and which people share information or get information in terms of how their work should continue. How have you been involved in this and making sure that people can continually meet and share information that they need to, even if it's not face-to-face?
Yeah, thanks, Luku. In fact, we should employ you because the way you said Google Meet, we have a product called Google Meet. And in April this year, it's been an enterprise product that people would pay for. However, in April, we made it free for everyone, which means that if you download Google Meet, you can be able to have your meeting for as long as you want. So it doesn't matter whether you're one or you're a group of people. You can talk for 1 hour or for 2 hours, and it's free. And we've seen that the use of Google Meet has really grown because people want to talk for long, not just for a few minutes. You have a conference and you don't want this limitation. So it's been free, and all you need is a code. You can send it, you can set it on your calendar, and you just send the code to people, and everyone just joins the meeting. And ensuring that privacy and security are paramount, so that if it's a doctor who's having a Google Meet with a patient, they're sure that that information they're sharing is confidential and stays there between the two of them.
The issue
So
of security.
yeah, that's one.
The issue
Right.
of security is actually a very big one now that you've brought it up. We have seen also comments and reports of people's meetings being infiltrated and wrong content being shared on platforms, especially for students and such. How is Google Meet addressing this?
Actually, we have a team at Google called that falls under trust and safety. Their mandate is to safeguard users from any misinformation, disinformation that can occur. And as you'd imagine, with the pandemic, there's been a rise in all these phishing, people who send you an email and want to get information out of you. And so they're constantly looking to the threats to make sure that nothing like that happens, and really reacting to any case that we receive immediately. We also, in a way, educate our users to make sure that they have double verification. So if you're signing in, you'd get a notification on your phone as well, and on the laptop or desktop you're using, to make sure that it's you, because we've also known that that happens. And if you're using a Chrome extension, you're told that beware, this email looks like spam, beware before you open this. So those are some of the ways that we are doing that. But we also have, like when we are doing the Google Classroom, which is really where we're using schools. Schools are using this free web service, and any school that is officially registered by the Ministry of Education can get to use Google Classroom for free. This one has been really even tightened for teachers to ensure that it's the student who's there. What information is going, the teacher has visibility to all this, because we saw that this is really important in keeping children safe, in keeping the educators and institutions really at peace, knowing that nothing like is going to happen, or from what we have seen.
Then how is it then, Dorothy, if I may ask, that in 2019, Google was actually being investigated by attorney generals right across the USA, and it was on complaints about, there were antitrust issues, certain antitrust laws had been abrogated, and there were issues about advertising and such traffic. If so much care, as you are saying, is actually put into these matters, how did these cases come about?
I think those are two cases. I think the antitrust case has nothing to do with privacy, but more of competition, about people feeling that we were using our platform to only advertise our products and not competitors. So those were antitrust issues, and I think that those continuously going, and we are continuously trying to prove that we are letting competitors be also able to advertise on our platform, that we are not making our platform just for our products. Yeah, so the antitrust, I think, are addressed all the time, and I think the big tech companies is a challenge that we face, because small companies then are asking, can we be able to advertise and compete with the big tech companies? And I think this is something we've continually sought to prove, that our platform is for all, that competitors can sell their products. So it doesn't matter whether it's, you're selling a small other ads, that you would be able to still come and sell on our platform, and we would not discriminate because you are a competitor.
I'm looking at a lot of these things came as a result of COVID, that we see what is now being labeled the new normal. But at the same time, What plans were there? I mean, in terms of moving forward with new technological advances, to say that this is the way in which we would go. Because unfortunately, we've seen that with COVID, a lot of sectors needed a lot of help that maybe governments would not be able to do on their own, and maybe needed PPPs to come in and sort this out. Do you see this then as a trend that would continue to follow, even moving into the future beyond COVID and after that, to have a platform that was more robust that would then be able to support communities in the future?
Right, and Diku, you mentioned a very important point about sometimes a crisis making people be able to look and say, wow, we need to do this. So one of the things that we noticed was like going online, or even having like just online classes, like using a Google Classroom class where you have teachers who are online and you've got parents who have been forced to go online and learn how to use the tool, and students who are normally very agile in terms of using technology. Parents suddenly saying, we want to know how to use this because we have to monitor our kids' progress. And what we've seen is a certain fast tracking in terms of using technology to be the way forward. Before, we would have had this interview at the studio for sure. And here we are adapting to new ways of, okay, we'll have it on call, and the conversation still goes on. And that adaptation has really, I think, pushed for the use of technology in just everyday life, If you look at deliveries or even online purchases, I think for the longest while, as much as we had a platform like M-Pesa where you could pay online, a lot of people have gone to, you know what, I need to shop, and I can just put my details and pay by M-Pesa or by my credit card online and have that thing delivered to me. And so we've seen, in the community reports that we also release, and is showing that people are adapting to this new way of operating, of working, and Google Meet being a way of let's all meet. Before, we had clients who were like, no, we want to meet you face to face. With social distancing, this has been, okay, let's meet online. The only thing you need to do is make sure you're muted when we are talking. And so I think that the pandemic has been, it's a crisis, but a crisis that has forced us in a way to adapt and adjust to a new way of working, a new way of living, a new way of learning, and a new way of doing things. So, for instance, one of the things that we found out we did our YouTube trends, what we found out was that more families, Kenyans, were really going on YouTube to learn how to cook. So they would look for the cooking channels, the local cooking channels, and those were the ones they were looking at to cook, because in these times of the pandemic, people are not going out to restaurants. So guess what? People are finding out new skills. Oh, I want to learn how to cook. I want to make better mandazis. I want to make better chapati. So I think the new skills people are finding out what to do. And this is what we have seen. And I think that we're going to discover more, or picking new hobbies that people didn't know they could do. But now they're like, we are online. I can learn this skill on YouTube. And so I'm going to learn how to make flowers on YouTube and sell them to friends. Yeah.
So we have, like you've said, the pandemic is basically forcing us to think outside the box and to adopt new ways of doing things. One of the greatest challenges that we're finding in the country, and of course indeed in the world, is the fact that schools have had to close for a long period of time. In this country, we are still talking about, trying to register teachers so that teachers can offer tuition to the students in their localities. Using platforms such as Google Classroom and the other technologies, are you working with the government to work on ways in which we can actually expand this and ensure that learning can happen in using Google Classroom and other platforms, but also in a very easy and affordable way for those that are not able to get access to technology at present?
Right, and you raise a valid point that part of the challenge of technology has been this idea of access to internet and affordability of the internet. And it has also shown divides because some people can afford to have internet for their kids and some people cannot. And so one of the things I know that we have had, for instance, our partners, we work with telcos, so Safaricom, for instance, giving special bundles to institutions, which enables students to be able to access that information when they need it. But Telkom Kenya as well and Alphabet launched Project Loon. Now, Project Loon was all about having internet delivered to the remote areas where you wouldn't think of internet because it's very costly to set up, you know, even a 3G station. So when telcos are looking for places to invest, they normally look for a place where there is population because you know you're going to recover your setting up of the base station. But when you're in a remote area like Turkana, Samburu, where you cannot access that area, it normally makes it's not economically viable to set up this. But now with Project Loon, that partnership with Telkom Kenya, that means that in these remote areas, you are able to have this balloon, be able to deliver internet across these regions. And we are hoping that with what Telkom Kenya is doing, that these areas will be able to have internet and then they're able to go to school like everyone else. So it doesn't matter that you're not close to the capital city, but you're still able to access this. So we are also watching to see how the Loon Telkom Kenya partnership goes in terms of just having this balloon-powered internet across regions of Kenya and seeing how that goes. So that started in 2019, and hopefully by end of 2020, I know the government is pushing aggressively to make sure that these remote areas are connected to the internet. And that business model is what other countries in Africa are looking at to see how it works so that they can adapt to this.
Can I ask, please, if you could tell us a little bit more about corporate social responsibility projects that Google has in Kenya, the ones they've implemented, the ones they're planning to implement?
Right. So one of the, some I can't announce. So we have a few that are really COVID related. We call them local emergency relief, which was really about helping local organizations that are helping people in the grassroots deal with COVID. So our partner organization, Give Directly and Shofco, who work in Kibera, is how are they giving money to these sustained, to families that are impacted. And the way of help is either by providing food, so giving food coupons, or providing water coupons, whatever is needed, or giving a small loan that helps a family be able to buy food that they need for the week. So that's what we're doing right now, which is called, we are calling that emergency relief for COVID, but very local. So not working with the big organizations, but really going at the grassroots and making sure that happens. We are also working with organizations that are really dealing directly with frontline workers, and be it they're making masks that are needed to be able to help at the local level. So that's where we are. And I think other announcements that I cannot make right now because we're going to make them in the next few weeks on how we are helping small businesses to be able to stay afloat in this time.
Many people have lost jobs, Dorothy, during this time. And one of the things that someone would expect is, many people would be thinking is, if I can get an opportunity where I can work and earn online, for example, by creating content, this could be a way out. Like you said, very many people are doing searches on how to cook. Is Google working with local communities to entrench the concept of content creation using the platforms that you have?
Absolutely. And actually, as I said, I do not want to preempt our announcements that are coming soon, but there's a lot that we are doing. And one of the things we're doing is just showing people how to, first of all, be able to create your business online so that it stays online, how to build your tools, how to access other markets. So really, because that's what we've seen. The trend that we've seen is that online is where business is. So if you're online, then even a pandemic like this doesn't affect you because people are still able to order. So that's what we're going to do. You're going to hear in the next few weeks announcements about even new product features we've created to help people be online and share their businesses. So you could have your business, you could have your side hustle and create online, and that when I come to Google search, as you said, and I'm Googling something, your business will be able to show up immediately. So those are some of the strategies we're having, really keen to make sure that if you look at Kenya, the informal sector is what keeps the economy going. And so it's so important that we make sure that the informal sector stays strong by giving them the tools and the skills that they will need to go through the rest of the year as we battle COVID-19.
So let's just say that then we look forward to those announcements. And when you make that announcement, you'll speak to us again and explain in detail what new initiatives you've come up with.
I look forward to that.
Dorothy, thank you very much for speaking to us. Dorothy Ooko is the Head of Communications and Public Affairs for Sub-Saharan Africa at Google. We thank you for speaking to us and we hope to engage again soon.
Thank you so much. I look forward to being in the Situation Room again.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Asante sana.
Thank you.